And good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Back with you folks with a triple threat attack for this very brief and abbreviated week of coverage on the network here for Monday night, February the 8th, 2016, alongside Eric Nemchok joining us over in Elmhurst, Illinois, and your host for the night, Crystal Thomas, joining you up in Los Angeles, and, of course, Comfort joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. KT and Eric, how's it going tonight? Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
It is going better now. It is going better.
And, of course, folks, we'll take your input on a lot of things today in the WNBA between contract signings and also, of course, the UConn South Carolina game, which we'll get to momentarily, on Twitter at WNBA365, at Callamac3, at Pup1010, or at Nemchocky with hashtag WNBA365. Or also, if you are viewing us live, of course, our live chat feed is open for you folks to also give us your thoughts and take on what's occurring in the WNBA or the rest of the women's basketball world. Of course, guys, before we get to the contract signings for today, again, only a couple to report on this evening, but of course a marquee game on ESPN2's Big Monday in women's college basketball, which of course was the second year in a row of a number 1 versus number 2 ranked team, which of course was the UConn Huskies, taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks in Columbia this evening, and UConn, who came in on a 59-game winning streak and a 11.5-point favorite against the Gamecocks, rolls South Carolina in the game today by the final score of, let me go back and check the box score, 66-54 today to win their 60th straight game and continue on the third longest winning streak in women's basketball in recent memory, at least. And the win for UConn, of course, now, guys, improves their mark to 23-0 on the season, while South Carolina falls to 22-1. Crystal, starting with you, obviously, a lot of hype around this game again, but again, not the type of result that we probably were expecting from this type of game between two heavyweights that could be vowing for the national title in late March, early April this year. And of course, Crystal, again, you see South Carolina plays well, but again, UConn just what seems like bigger and better than any team put in front of them so far this season and on this 60-game winning streak. Crystal, your overall thoughts about this game tonight down there in South Carolina?
Well, I was hoping for an upset, but deep down inside I knew UConn was just gonna dominate. SC, they've been dominating everyone, and I think we will possibly see them play again in the national title game. I mean, I know that's a little bit down the road, and I can't really speak on what's happening in the future because, I mean, I also thought the Panthers was gonna win yesterday, so I'm obviously not good at predictions, but I don't know. Like, it seems like South Carolina didn't come out playing their game. It seemed like they came out kind of timid. I think it was one of those things like, oh, we're playing UConn, and I don't know if it was like a sense of overconfidence or if it was just a sense of too much eagerness. But it got ugly at one point in the game. So I'm surprised they only lost by 12, to be honest with you.
Eric, again, we talked about this briefly off air before coming on here and joining the folks live on the viewing page again. Was they hype up this matchup again for the second straight year, and again, it's not what you would expect the return on your dollar if you're at this game or watching as a casual viewer on ESPN2. I mean, you see UConn again take another team to the woodshed again for their 60th straight win, their the third longest win streak amongst D1 women's basketball. So, Eric, I guess for overall take on this game, is there really much else to say than the fact that UConn versus the field for the remainder of the season and all the way through March Madness?
No, there's not, and I think despite the hype, that was the sentiment going into this game too. Honestly, I didn't even watch it because I kind of figured this would be the results. Maximum respect to UConn, though. I mean, they're just a machine. They're clearly the best team in the country. There's no doubt about that heading into this game, and there's no doubt about that now.
Crystal, I want to kind of go back a bit to the second half of the game tonight, more so the third and fourth quarter, where the natives got a little bit restless down there in South Carolina. A lot of boos raining down towards the officiating crew tonight. Not sure if it was really more so about either UConn with really good defense that may have drawn contact, or even close plays going out of bounds. I guess obviously. We kind of hold the officials over the summer pretty accountable for a lot of things, and we rip them pretty good as well on social media. But I guess, Crystal, do you think, though, that not just the final score, perhaps, not saying it was, but, perhaps maybe the officials had a bit of a a role, though, as well in some of those plays? Even when the game was out of control, though, still, was there perhaps some type of, calls going one way when it should have been going the other way, though, perhaps in your mind going forward, or what do you think?
From what I remember watching, I think, with all games, there's going to be questionable calls, but I think for the most part, it was just the fact that South Carolina was just getting beat. I mean, they got scored 19-8 in the third quarter. Outscored, 19-8 in the third quarter. So I think I would boo too if I was there. When you see your team just completely get thrashed like that. But it was, from what I remember seeing. Obviously there were some bad calls, but for the most part, even if there wasn't, it's UConn. UConn can go in there and make your team look like you're terrible. So, I don't know if the boy was really necessary at that point because the game was getting away. But when you're used to winning and you find dominating everybody, I guess that's what happens. You kind of get spoiled with winning. That when you lose, you don't know how to lose.
Eric, another big night as well for potential number 1 draft pick Breanna Stewart again today in this ball game. Again, at one point, 25-10 at one point in this game. Again, continuing to just tear other teams apart, pretty much almost single-handedly again. We've kind of talked about her draft stock again, possibly penciled in as number 1 overall going to Seattle again. So I guess, Eric, in your mind, though, obviously, would you possibly expect, and again, I'm not going to really say that this is going to happen, but obviously, with UConn going this way again towards another conference championship and an overall number 1 seed, obviously, would you consider probably resting her perhaps for part of the conference tournament at all, or is that too much of a gamble and too much to ask for perhaps from the UConn coaching staff? Or what are your thoughts, though, and why about seeing how she has played so far this late into pretty much a season that's already, locked up and ready for when it counts the most in March?
That's not really how Gino Auriemma operates. He wants his team playing at 100% efficiency at all times, and that's what makes them WNBA ready prospects. I get the logic of resting Breanna Stewart. I think it might be a good idea, heading up to the tournament maybe. But if you look at her minutes, she's really not playing that many minutes compared to most other college stars in the first place. So I think he's handling her minutes well heading into the tournament, so he doesn't have to rest her in the tournament basically. So I don't think that's going to happen.
And by the way, folks, I want to give a quick shout-out to Anella, one of our great correspondents and writers on our WNBA 365 Network Twitter handle. She tweeted in saying, and in case you folks wondering, I got my other laptop next to me here, which is why I'm looking over my left shoulder. She said, watched at WNBA 365 briefly. All of you doing a good job. Keep it up. I'll watch the rest tomorrow. And, of course, Anella joining us over in Toronto. The start of a 2016 NBA All-Star Game coming up this weekend. Anella, thank you so much for stopping by and joining us, and we'll hopefully catch you again sometime tomorrow night. But again, folks, more importantly, in tonight's marquee matchup, again, number 1 UConn pounds number 2 South Carolina 66-54. And Crystal, what I can recall as well was seeing Dawn Staley again being really animated towards her players late in the ball game, knowing that the game was out of control already, down by 10 to 12 points. But again, her sense of urgency, though, to tell her players to keep fighting and keep playing was what really caught my eye, because normally, especially at the college level, you just see guys that, players that just give up when the game's out of control. But to see Dawn, though, really still pushing her players even when the game was out of control, what does that say, though, to you, though? I know that you love Dawn as one of the greatest point guards of all time, but what does it say to you, though, as both the player and coach, though, or from an athlete standpoint, what does it say to you, though, when you see your coach, still telling you to keep pushing or keep going forward even though the game is well out of control and out of reach?
You want to coach like that and take it. She felt, and I truly do think she felt this. I think she felt that there was a point where she could actually come back and probably win the game or even make the game a little closer. And I actually applaud her for doing so. A lot of teams, especially when they're playing UConn, a lot of coaches kind of give up at a certain point in the game. And I like that she didn't, because I truly do think that they will see each other again. And it's kind of like boxing. Sometimes when you fight the person the second time, you fight them much better than you did the first time. So if they do end up playing UConn again in the championship game, I think it's going to be a little bit of a closer game. Obviously the outcome may be the same, but I think Don is just going to have them ready for the next time if they meet.
Eric, I want to pose a suggestion/question from your good pal Corey Space Junkie in our chat box. Corey says, nobody left on UConn's schedule should play them close anyway. So once UConn is up big, they can sit their stars anyway in the second half. So I guess there to kind of revisit the point I said, though, about resting Stewart, though, obviously, Corey just kind of put me in my place, though, again. When you get these really big leads, and especially what we've seen from UConn in the AAC, no game has been close at all yet in the conference play, so I guess that is one thing. But I guess would you agree with Corey, though, about resting them more so late second half when the game is pretty much already out of control?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And here's another reason why. UConn's going to be potentially losing 3 seniors in the draft. Morgan Tuck, we don't know if she's going to declare for the draft yet, but with Stewart, Jefferson, and Tuck possibly all being gone, Gino needs to. It would kind of be like grooming the younger players, just giving them an extra game time to prepare for next season and whatnot. Because UConn's really good at reloading. They very rarely have an off year where they're like, okay, all the seniors are gone. Well, now we got to wait a few years for the freshmen to all develop. That doesn't happen over there. And I think a major reason for that is because he makes sure they get the playing time in the second halves when they're blowing out their opponents, and your Brianna Stewarts and your Morgan Tucks are sitting.
So again, thanks to Anella and Corey both for joining us tonight, and please keep sending us good stuff, folks. We love having interaction. It kind of makes our night a little bit easier when we do report on this. With that, folks, we'll now hand the mic over and give an assist over to Crystal Thomas, your host for the night, to talk about some of the upcoming talk about the training camp moves today. Katie, not a lot to really get to, though, with some of the signings, though, but hey, ball's all yours. Floor's yours. Go for it. What do you got?
Oh, Suki. Okay, so, I'm about to start you off with this one. So, like Kelly said, it's been a pretty slow free agency. It's been pretty slow in free agency, period, but today was just really slow. Obviously, there was 2 training camp signings with the Indiana Fever, Jeanette Poland and Erica Wheeler. It's only training camp, but these training camp signings are important for not only the Fever, but for Erica Wheeler and Jeanette Poland to show what they have and to try to hopefully make this roster for the summer.
Crystal, I think you had a bit of a minor glitch there, but who are you posing the question to? You can go ahead and reiterate. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I will reiterate the question. The question was, it was for Eric, and it was how important do you think that these, though they're training camp signings, how important do you think these training camp signings are not only for the Fever, but for Erica Wheeler and Jeanette Poland, who are possibly trying to make a final roster spot this summer?
Crystal, that's an interesting question because I just got finished writing about that for today's Fast Break in an article that will probably be posted tomorrow. It's perfect timing, yeah. It's almost like you read my mind. I think this is it's important for both of them because I think Indiana, they've got really a lot of wing depth, but I think it's especially important for Erica Wheeler because this is going to be her 3rd team in the last 2 years already, and she's going to have to prove that she belongs. She didn't really get much of a chance in New York, and the guard situation in Atlanta was kind of lousy. It was kind of a dumpster fire over there. So I think she would fit in at Indiana a little bit better because it's more guard oriented, but she wouldn't just be getting the ball, and like the system is just better over there. It'd be a better learning environment. We'll just put it that way. However, and especially because they've got a guard spot open now that Shavante Zealous is gone. So if she could maybe fill that role that Shavante Zealous will be playing this year, she's obviously not the same caliber of player as far as I know, but just somebody to come off the bench for 8 to 10 minutes a game, provide a little bit of scoring. I think that would be her role should she make the training camp roster. Jeanette Poland, I think anything you get out of her at this point is just gravy. She's had a lot of injuries over the past couple seasons. She's played in Indiana her whole career, I believe. So, she's a part of the 2012 championship team, although she was injured during the finals. But, I think it's important for her too. But I think she'll have other opportunities as well because she's one of the best spot-up three-point shooters in the league, and people will always look to have that type of person on their team. So I think even if she doesn't make the team, people will still be interested in her services. And as far as the importance of these signings to the Fever go. They've already got the core of their team set, so I think the last wing off their bench is not really a huge priority for them. But just to have these signings out of the way, I think is a good thing. So they're not like scrambling around at the last minute trying to sign somebody who probably isn't going to contribute anything.
I could agree, especially with the Jeanette Poland thing. Her injuries, I don't think she's really played a full season since she's been in the league, if I can remember correctly. And it's kind of sad because she had so much. And like you said, her spot up shooting is, I think, one of the main reasons why she was drafted. Do you think, Callan, that with these possible guard signings in training camp, this is going to make, like Lasia Clarendon work harder and that they're possibly trying to find a backup for, well, words, a better backup, a more reliable backup for Brianna January, or do you think that they're just pretty much trying to add more depth just because?
Crystal, I'd probably say it's a depth thing for one. I mean, with Poland, as we said, injury bug has just been, biting her every season, it seems like. Has no luck really staying healthy. But as Eric said, I mean, any team would love to have her services when she's, when she comes in and she can get healthy for the first time in quite some time. With Erica Wheeler, kind of that player that was sort of, just kind of there in different places. Eric said, though, as well, 3 teams in 2 seasons. Kind of like that late season, mid-season rental, kind of just for depth. But I think, though, that, with time, and I think and also with Stephanie White in place as well as head coach, and we know that we talked about this on the show a couple days ago about, how this Indiana's coaching staff has so much patience with players coming in that she's going to get in my opinion, she's going to get a fair shake to, go through training camp and maybe have a roster spot. But as Eric said, though, too, there are spots open now that Shavonte Zillows is now with New York. But I think it's probably for added depth, perhaps, for the future.
Eric, if you had to pick out of Poland and Wheeler, which one would you probably want on your team the most, and why would you choose one over the other?
That's a good question. I think I would choose Poland because, as you know, I love 3-pointers. I think they're great. They're worth 1 more point than a 2, so that must mean they're better. But no, seriously. I think the way that Steph White runs her team, it's very 3-point centric, and I think Jeanette Poland. Defensively, she was never really that great. Probably even worse now, coming off those knee injuries. But I think she still has that. She can shoot it. She can shoot it. You know what you're getting in Jeanette Poland, and she's kind of been around now. So, and I think Erica Wheeler, she's kind of still searching for a place in the league. She's kind of still unproven. So if I'm Steph White and I'm looking for to return to the championship games this year and win a title, I'm going for the sure thing, and that is Jeanette Poland.
I would have to agree. I mean, kind of like we said last week, when it comes to certain free agencies, I think you want a player that you can go far with, other than a player that's kind of like a player that you have to build up, kind of like build a player, like how they have build a bear, it's build a player when you're choosing Erica Wheeler. And I mean, it may not necessarily be a bad thing, but you kind of want to go with someone you can trust down the line. I mean, we don't know exactly what Erica Wheeler could do down the line, and I think for Stephanie White, it might be a little bit of an easier choice. Also, staying on Indiana Fever for a second, Callan, do you think that this training camp means more to Erica Wheeler or Jeanette Poland, and why?
I think it's Wheeler by far. As we said, player still looking for their identity in the league, again, bouncing around from team to team. This is a pretty pivotal one for, maybe for her WNBA career perhaps. So I think that, we kind of see this trend, though, with players that keep getting waived or cut during training camp during the course of a season by WNBA teams. I think that they lose confidence in themselves that they can't play in the W. I think that's what we've kind of seen in the past couple of seasons with players that have, foregone WNBA to go play overseas because they can, there may be better obligations over there, but I think that this is probably a very big, very pivotal one for Erica Wheeler. I think, though, not just for her personally, but for self-confidence. I mean, as we said, though, 3 teams in 2 seasons, bouncing around across city to city, and I think that this is probably this is a pivotal moment in her career, perhaps, of whether she's going to make it big in the W or maybe, it's one of those other players that you kind of see, that doesn't blossom in the pros, that goes and plays somewhere else and has a, wonderful overseas career as well.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, as a player, especially if you've been cut and bounced around and benched, you kind of start to think like, well, was I cut out for this? Was this the right choice? Should I keep doing this? And you never want to see a player, especially a young player's confidence, go that low and get to that point. So even if she doesn't make the Fever, hopefully she can find a home somewhere and stay there, because it'd be pretty cool to see her in the league. But I mean, unfortunately, we all know it doesn't work out for everyone in that magnitude. Going on to Callan's second favorite team, the Phoenix Mercury. If any one of you have I don't know if you guys heard today, but Penny Taylor is officially back after taking that hiatus last year. I'm going to start with you, Callan, since this is your, your second favorite team or whatever. What do you think the impact of re-signing Penny Taylor will have in this upcoming season for the Mercury?
I'm going to go off the record first and say you got the order wrong. It goes L.A., New York, and then Phoenix.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're third on the depth chart. But I think, though, this is 2014 kind of all over again. I mean, when you have, the full star power back and both Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor back, along with Brittany Griner, who's going to be back for the full season, after coming off of the domestic violence situation last season. I think that, with her coming back, and this could probably be one of the final years that you kind of see her in the league again. She's been in it for at least 10-plus years. So, some pretty challenging times for her with Phoenix. I believe she's been there her whole career as well. Actually, I'll take that back with her being in Cleveland for a little bit before going to Phoenix. And she's kind of been on a roller coaster though in her entire career though, and I think though that with her taking that year off to kind of is this what I want to continue doing? And of course, who would not want to go back to a team in Phoenix that's won, that had a dominant 2014 season, fell short last year, but now that you're fully reloaded and you see D back, you see her back, you see BG, of course there, this is a team in place that definitely will make a lot of noise in 2016.
I also think it was good for her because she's older and she had a lot of injuries, and I think she wanted to rest her body. I think she pretty much did the Candace Parker thing: rest your body and see how you feel, and come back healthier and come back better. Switching to you, Eric, who do you think is the odd woman out? That roster is going to be so stacked, somebody's going to have to go, and they just added more star power to them. Who do you think will possibly be the odd woman out of the roster?
The odd woman out is well, let's see. Obviously, D is going to be starting. I think they're going to run the same type. They're going to try to run the same type of stuff they did in 2014 because they're going to have. I think Sandy Brindella, she really found the sweet spot as far as that lineup is concerned. Because you're going to have D, you're going to have Penny, you're going to have Bonner, Dupree, and then Griner. And then the rest is you don't really need. You can stagger that rotation. Here's the thing: with the versatility of those players, you can stagger the rotation in a way that you're going to have at least 2 stars on the floor at any one time. So what she's going to have to do is, I think the more pressing problem now is finding a bench that will complement their talents, because like Penny Taylor, Diana Taurasi, Duana Bonner, they're all so versatile. They can all play multiple positions, guard multiple positions. So I don't really think there's going to be an odd woman out per se. Mo Curry maybe, because she's a veteran, and I'm pretty sure she didn't sign last year to be coming off the bench. So we'll see what happens with that. But if she does come off the bench, that's obviously a great boon for the Mercury, because you're going to have a starting caliber player who is coming off the bench in like a 6-woman role, and they didn't really even have that in 2014. So this team could be even better than that one. We don't know.
I was actually thinking, it's funny that you said Mo Curry. I was actually thinking probably Shamika Christian. They really didn't use her much. I don't think many people realized that she played for Phoenix last year, because there was a point in time where I actually forgot that she was even on that Mitchell, but I don't see them getting rid of a weapon like Leilani Mitchell. She's actually pretty productive. Shoots a spot up 3. She killed LA last year with that 3. I'll never forget that game. We were up, hit that 3 at the end. I don't really think that would happen. The same question to you, Callan. Who do you think would be the odd woman out?
Yeah, I had to kind of breathe in and exhale when Eric laid out the starting 5 for Phoenix for 2016, because it's so similar to 2014, just minus Aaron Phillips, who was starting at guard, who's now with LA. Boy, oh boy, if there's any odd woman out, probably Christian's probably the one. I mean, the only time I recall her even playing for Phoenix was when I was actually at TSRA for the playoff game when they brought her in garbage time when they were up by 30 on Tulsa. I think that they'll probably retain Curry, as Eric said, in a 6 Woman of the Year spot or place. And there's so many other young players. Curry's going to be there. Mitchell's staying, I think, because, as Eric said, Phoenix kind of is a team that kind of lives and dies by the three, along with them also working well inside. Of course, with BG in the post game as well. But I think that Christian is probably going to be that lone woman out down there in PHX, KT.
If you were Sandy Brondello, and this is a question for Eric right now. If you were Sandy Brondello and you're looking at your rosters and you realize that you pretty much have just been handed a golden plate, that's pretty much what you're gonna call Phoenix, the golden plate, because that roster is just as great as they want to be. That is a free agent right now. Who would you try to sign? Because Phoenix probably will need a bench. Who is looking for to help give the starters a break?
Can you repeat that? You kind of went into robot mode again.
I pretty much, even though Sandy Brondello pretty much has the golden roster right now, if you were Sandy Brondello, who are the free agents that you would try to target to make the Mercury roster that much better?
Free agents. Okay, so obviously a lot of them have been picked up already, but
yeah,
I think Anika Henry from Atlanta might be worth a shot because I think she might be the odd woman out in Atlanta with their recent trade for Elizabeth Williams. She's a restricted free agent, but I'm not sure how much they're going to want to spend to keep her in there if they're going in like a youth movement sort of thing. And Brittany Griner, she needs a backup. Misty Bass is a good player. She's a good role player, hustle player, glue player, however you want to call her, but she's not a true backup center, I would say. So I think Anika Henry would really benefit Griner well. She could keep her minutes down and whatnot. Or along those same lines, somebody like an Avery Worley or Quinitra Hollingsworth. I'm not sure about that, but somebody just another post player who can, because they did draft Isabel Harrison last year, but we haven't really heard much about her since it was said that she'll be missing the season, obviously to recover from her ACL injury. So if she can come back healthy, then they're not going to really need a heck of a lot, I don't think, because they're already so stacked. I'm looking at the unrestricted free agent list, and I'm not really sure there's much. Re-signing Leilani Mitchell, that would benefit them, I would say. But apart from that, I'm not really sure. I think they're in a pretty freaking good place right now.
If you were in this situation, Callan, if you were the Phoenix Mercury, would you try to participate in the draft, or would you just kind of just let it go and just, because obviously they have an incredible team, as Eric just mentioned, and their team is just going to be super scary next year, and they might possibly go to the finals, next year. So if you were Sandy Brondello in that management, would you even consider drafting anyone?
I think that they would probably go free agency way. I think because I think at this point, is it really worth the draft picks? I think that Phoenix may do away with their 2 picks. I would assume perhaps. I mean, and if they are going to go that way, I would probably say Avery Worley Talbert would be a good fit. For the season as a backup post. Because if Griner gets in foul trouble or something comes up where she either gets injured in the course of a game or if there is foul trouble, who's going to be that next person to step up and fill those shoes, down low and in the lane and in the key and at that center position. And plus, I'm not sure that she was really used well in New York either the past couple seasons. So I think that Worley Talbert would be a good fit down there in Phoenix as well.
I agree. I do think they need to find a backup for Griner. Griner does tend to get in foul trouble a lot. She's kind of slowed it down, but mostly shot blockers, that's what they try to do, is try to alter your shot, block shots, and it ends up being fouls a lot. So I can actually see them, like you said, going the free agent way. Unfortunately, this year's draft and this year's free agency list isn't really that deep. And as we can see, we've seen how slow it has been with free agents in general. I mean, I think it's been, like, what was it, the second week of free agency? First week, second week, and there still hasn't been that many great signings yet. So I mean, we'll have to see what's going on. I mean, I thought by now we'd have signings that would make us gasp and cry and jump for joy, but we have yet to see any of those. And I mean, who knows? Maybe maybe it'll come later. And since we're on the topic of free agency, I'm sorry to you, Eric. What notable free agents are left that are catching your eye? I know there's not many, but the ones that are left, who would you, if you were, let's just say you're the Chicago Sky GM,
Oh, okay.
put your GM hat on, who would you love to see play with EDD, and who would you love to build the team around?
Put your coaching hat on too, Eric.
Yeah, I can do that. Let's see. Well, first of all, I'm throwing all the money at Neko Gumake. I'm gonna make Crystal match that offer, and when she matches that offer, then I'll cry, and then I'll do something else. So then I have to re-sign Jessica Breland because she's a huge part of what we do offensively and defensively. I have to make sure that Clarissa Dos Santos comes back, just for post-depth reasons. And let's see who else. Like you said, the list of unrestricted free agents isn't really that impressive. Maybe someone like maybe Leilani Mitchell. We don't know. We have a good backup point guard in Jamira Faulkner, but we kind of lack three-point shooting as it is. I like Helena Green. Out of UConn. I think she's going to be. I think she's an underrated player. I think she's kind of bounced around and she hasn't really gotten much of a fair shake, but I like her skill set. Apart from that, you're right. There's not really that many players. Quanah Williams, maybe. I mean, someone's going to want to take a flyer on her, but I think she's going to go back to Dallas. I'm just taking a guess on that. Gloria Johnson, I'm staying away from, no matter what. I think that goes without saying. But yeah, apart from that, there's not really that much. I like our position. I think we got a good team here in Chicago. We'll see.
I thought earlier today the Chicago re-signed Jessica Breland, but I guess that wasn't a sure thing.
Yeah, that turned out to become a unconfirmed report today.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. So I think you guys will re-sign her. And no, you can't have NECA. We will throw everything in the kitchen sink to re-sign her. And that's actually another thing. There's a lot of restricted free agents that I'm surprised haven't been, offered anything right now. I think it's, NECA's one of them, which I'm pretty sure LA is going to re-sign her. I just think it's weird that they're, letting her fly free for as long as they've let her, just let her kind of just sit there. And Gloria Johnson, I'm not surprised. I think people don't want to take a risk on the drama that might come with Glory. Although she's in really good shape, I think she's going to have a pretty good bounce back year. Rakina Williams, I feel as if Dallas should just let her go. I don't think that great player, but just doesn't get the playing time she deserves because of Odyssey Sims and Skylar Diggins. And now that Skylar Diggins is coming back healthy, I don't feel as if Rakina Williams will get the playing time she deserves. And same question for you, Callan. Put on your GM hat, your coaching hat. You could pick any one of your three teams because you have a lot of them. What notable free agents would you go after, and how do you think they'll match up well with the team?
Well, I do know one player is signing a 2-year deal with New York, but I'll stay away from that one quickly. But there's a lot out there. Obviously, Crystal, I'm just surprised, though, that LA and Dallas have not made any type of move yet. I mean, when you see other teams doing moves and you see that Los Angeles and Dallas have not made any type of moves yet, I think, is there concern? Is there, some outrage about there not being any publicity about those two teams not making moves? Who knows? There's a lot out there, but I think, though, that with the position that LA is in right now, they need some help on the bench. I'm sure there's a lot out there that can help. As we said, Phoenix is loaded enough already. New York is just reloaded their team with Zellos coming in and Sword re-signing, and they lost Wheeler, but again, like I said, that was kind of that mid-season rental, late-season rental. There's so many options, but I think more so it's just the fact that not every team has made some type of transaction or move yet. I mean, you've seen Atlanta make moves, Chicago's made some type of move, Connecticut's made trades, but not seeing the Wings or the Sparks making moves, obviously. Concern perhaps for fans, outrage maybe there's not been any moves made, but definitely I think with LA, though, got to be bench help, Chris, because you preach that on the show every night is a bench will take you to the promised land 9 times out of 10, and that is what LA has lacked in recent years. I'd even say going back to 2014 when they brought in Wiggins and Harrington for that bench, it just seems like, that sadly was kind of like, boom goes the dynamite, sadly, and then 2015 was, even worse without having Ace there for the first, half of the season. So I think bench help for Los Angeles, Phoenix may need one more post, and then New York is just, I think may have just reclaimed the top spot in the East with them reloading with Zellos coming in, Swords coming back, and a player that we will keep anonymous who is going to be signing a 2-year deal more than likely sometime soon. But other than that, though, Crystal, I think, though, with me at least, it's the fact that, two teams have still not made any type of move, though, and as a fan of one of those teams, there's a bit of outrage and a bit of concern, though, too, about what might be happening.
I mean, yeah, I would have to agree. It's kind of shocking. You would think as soon as free agency came, especially with the Sparks and the Neko Gumike situation, that would probably be one of the first moves they make. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they're going to resign her. I don't know if they're, I guess they're trying to wait till she comes back from overseas. I guess they're trying to get the money right. I'm not sure, but it is kind of strange that they have yet to make a deal or match. I'm pretty sure they're going to match any offer, but it's just weird that they have yet to, I guess, attain her back on their roster. And I agree. Bench play will take you to the mothership. If you don't have a bench, you could just forget it. You can ease on down the Yellow Brick Road, as our good friends from the Wizard of Oz would say, because you're not going to get far in any league, NBA, WNBA, any league without a bench, and it shows. I mean, look what LA was last year. You have a bench player talking about world star. You have players who just don't know what they're doing. It's just pretty sad.
Crystal, let me just put this in perspective real quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to get to a couple tweets though as well from a couple of our viewers, but also to put in perspective, Crystal and Eric, LA made the first roster move over the 2015 offseason the first day after free agency started last season, and for them to be this quiet this late already into free agency is what really surprised me. Okay, now we'll get to some Twitter reaction real quick. 2 tweets real quick from @RobBurns the fourth. Ivy, he says, guys, this is a question to you both about the Fever. He says, Poland and Maggie Lucas kind of have the same role as three-point specialists. Crystal, starting with you, who do you keep out of those two?
Ooh, that's a hard question because they're pretty much the same player. Great shooter, no defense. That's tough because they're kind of the same player. I guess because of no injuries, I'll have to say Maggie Lucas, but they're kind of the same. I guess Maggie Lucas. I guess because of the no injuries, and she's younger and she's probably a little bit more durable.
Eric, what do you think? Jeanette Poland or Machine Gun Maggie? Who are you taking and why?
I don't think it's really that difficult of a decision, honestly. I take Maggie Lucas times out of 10 because she's younger, she's less injury prone, and they're mostly the same player-ish, but I think Maggie Lucas is better with moving without the basketball. You can run her off some curls, run her off some screens, whereas Poland is more of a player just stick in the corner to space the floor. So I think Maggie Lucas, she's got a higher ceiling, so I think you have to keep her.
Clean sweep. I'm taking Machine Gun Maggie as well to stay with Indiana. Also, Rob says real quick as well, guys, contemplating about what we talked about with Shamika Christian and Leilani Mitchell. Rob says Christian was saying she may be retiring. Plus, as well, don't forget, guys, Leilani Mitchell may have commitments with the Australian national team for the Olympic Games as well, so that's keep in mind as well. Plus, Corey, again, in the chat box, in regards to what I brought up, though, about teams not making moves this late into free agency, he says last year wasn't until right before camp Minnesota re-signed Maya Moore, but this year they made moves right away. So who knows when it comes to when teams decide to make their roster moves. Crystal, back to you.
No, I would have to agree. I mean, I think they might possibly be waiting because she's still, because she's still overseas, and I think they want to make sure they have everything correct before they just re-sign her. And I think they want to do that in person, so I can understand that. It's just kind of strange when you have an organization that big and they're kind of quiet. They're either up to something or they're waiting for someone else to be up to something so they can match whatever's going on in another organization. So I mean, I can agree with both of those things, and thank you guys for writing in the show.
Yes, thank you guys very much to Corey and Rob, and like we said, folks. I mean, with you folks interacting, it really makes not only our night memorable a little bit, but it keeps us engaged, though, and we love bringing up your topics, though, so please keep firing away. Chris, what else you got? Plenty more to talk about still. What do you got?
Well, I was going to kind of go back to the college game, the Maryland versus Ohio State game. Another, two more top 10 games. Obviously, Maryland lost. Maryland now with their 2 losses. Ohio State is just is just wrecking us, especially Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, that girl's a beast. 33 points. She's amazing. She's only a sophomore. Imagine what happens when, she becomes a senior. And I'm going to bring this one to Eric because I know his love for Kelsey Mitchell is like my love for Don Staley.
And the Big Ten.
And the Big Ten, yes. What are your thoughts on Kelsey Mitchell, and where do you see her going in the near future?
Where do I see Kelsey Mitchell going? As in,
not necessarily a team, but like as in like her game, her like. Do you think she's gonna? There's a record that she's approaching. Do you think she's gonna get the record? Like, how far do you think her game? How far do you think her plateau is?
Boy, for her the sky's the limit. I think. You look at her stats this season, and it's kind of frightening because she's gotten so much better already. She's as far as the PPGs go, she's about the same, I believe. But her shooting splits are so much better. She's shooting the ball even better. She's shooting over 40% from three. I think like 46, 47% from the field, which is amazing considering how much she shoots it, how much she has the ball in her hands, basically. Her assists are down, but I think that's more of a system-based because Kevin McGuff, he realizes that nobody can guard Kelsey Mitchell off the dribble, so give her the green light. Give her all the green lights, And it's kind of a dribble drive system they run over there, and nobody can guard Kelsey Mitchell off the dribble, so, why not? Why not shoot it every time? Although I think she's going to she's going to pull it back a little next year because they're going to have some transfers coming in. I think who do they have? They have Lene Harper from Kentucky. Who's a girl from Duke? Sierra Calhoun, I think. I think they have Sierra Calhoun coming in from Duke, and Stephanie Mavunga from UNC. So they're going to be really deep next year. Even though Amherst Dawson's going to be graduating, but they're going to fill her role with either Harper or Calhoun, and then pull the other one off the bench. So with Mavunga, they're going to have that true center post player that they're kind of lacking right now. Alexa Hart, I love Alexa Hart, but she's more of a defensive-minded player. Mavunga, you're going to have the offensive post threat, so I think Kelsey Mitchell's going to be more of a distributor next year and her senior season. But I think that will really behoove her because, in the WNBA, she's not going to be that player who's going to be taking 20 shots a game, So she's going to kind of go back to her roots as more of a passing point guard, but off the dribble, nobody can guard her. So the dribble drive offense, I think, is still going to be in full effect, and having those extra options to pass to is just going to benefit her even more, I think.
What's wrong with defensive players, Eric? You have a problem with defense? Defense wins championships. I mean, there's nothing wrong with we love defense around here. So, Callan, if you would have, as you may know, Ohio State got to a kind of a slow start. Now it's looking like they possibly may win the Big Ten. Can you see that, or do you see them going far in the tournament at all, or do you kind of think it's just right now it's all just a little, just a little game?
No, I think that they have a pretty good chance of winning the Big Ten Conference Championship. I mean, with it, there's been a lot of turnover, I think, this year, Joe, just in overall in the entire college season. I mean, a lot of upsets, a lot of teams falling, in the rankings, sinking like stones all the way. But I think that there's a legitimate shot for Ohio State to win the Big Ten tournament this season in the Big Ten Championship outright. But I guess, Crystal, I'd say, though, more so the entire season, other than maybe UConn's, being on this mammoth winning streak, though, has just been how you've seen other teams just, free fall. I mean, notably Tennessee falling all the way to 25th in the rankings. I really don't recall the last time seeing them this far down in the poll this late in the season. And now there's only one unbeaten team left, I believe, and that's still UConn, and everyone else having at least one loss under their belt. But I guess that's all I'd say is, it's been a pretty wacky 2016 season. But guys, hey, there's still March Madness to be done too, and we know what we've seen the past couple of years well in the Big Dance.
Don't even remind about March Madness, especially come bracket time. I'm the worst at that. Like it's man, I don't think I've actually had a pure bracket once. But yeah, I agree. Ohio State, they start off kind of slow. They start off kind of. It was you didn't think they were going to do that well, and now you see where they are. And especially with going back to Tennessee too, real quick. This is a question for Callan. Tennessee is pretty much a surprise to us all, especially with them supposed to be at the top. We know their legacy. Diamond DeShields isn't playing like the Diamond DeShields she was at UNC. Do you think that Tennessee is possibly, if they do make it to the tourney, it's an early round exit, or do you see them at least going to the second round?
Boy, oh boy, Crystal. I mean, with how the Lady Vols have struggled all season between, either injury problems or, as you said, Diamond DeShields, Mercedes Russell struggling from game to game, and Harley Warlick's been on the hot seat, I think, all season because this team has really, really underperformed, as you said, to it, the legacy that Tennessee has built over the past 10, 15, 20 years, dating back to the 1917 that went unbeaten and won the championship with, those great players. But now it's like they've kind of been, an average team, I'd say, during this whole season. So many losses early in the year to, teams that they would normally just pound in the ground by 20, 25, 30 points. And I could legitimately see them, not getting out of round two, at the turn. I'll give them a round one victory, but anything past that with this team right now, a lot of disarray, a lot of, just a lot going on with the Lady Vols right now that, this is going to be probably their first bad year in quite some time. They got to the Final Four last year. And, like I wrote, though, too, from the host here, guys, every team, every player is going to have that one bad game, one bad season. This is Tennessee's one bad season. But to see them this far buried at 25th right now, pending the next poll coming out, and they're not ranked, this is a definite surprise to a lot of Lady Vol fans out there to see that team with so much history on their side to be this, playing this poorly, and also in a really tough conference doing the SEC.
Eric, why do you think Tennessee is having such a hard time not only winning games but closing out the games that they're, most of the time in the lead in and blow it? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's a chemistry problem? Do you think it's youth? Do you think it's locker room issues?
Well, I think it's a combination of different things. There really isn't a lot of leadership on that team as far as I can see. They've got the talent. There's no question about that. But when you look at the point guard position, for example, who's really setting up the plays? You look at some of their possessions and you're thinking like, oh my God, what are they trying to run? Obviously you're trying to get Mercedes Russell the ball, but she's not posting up hard enough or whatever. Diamond DeShields is taking shots out of the rhythm of the offense. Diamond will be Diamond, so whatever. And also, I think under Holly Warlick, they've really had trouble developing players. You look at a player like, say, Andrea Carter, maybe. Even Mercedes Russell, how is she different than she was last year? She got new feet. Yeah, she hasn't really turned into that dominant player that everyone expects her to. So the talent isn't developing like it should. They lost. I think the senior class from last year is really making itself known by not being there because like a player like Sierra Burdick, a player like Ariel Massengill, those are your leaders. They're really intelligent players. They have really high basketball IQs, and that's not there anymore. And this is it's still a fairly young team, I think. But they're still going down. They're still trending downward. It's supposed to go upward as the season goes along, and that's not happening. So I think when that happens, you got to look at the coaching. You got to look at why aren't these players coming along like we wanted them to? What's going wrong? Is it something in our system? Is it chemistry? What can we do to fix this? Because clearly there's something off the court that's giving the on the court product problems.
Crystal, real quick. Crystal, I mean to interrupt, but this just popped to my head, and again, knowing about the Tennessee legacy, possibly, is Holly Warlick perhaps on a hot seat, though, with this team underperforming so badly at the worst time of the year, which, of course, is near tournament time? What do you think?
You know what? I'm going to say no. I don't think this is all on Holly. I think that team first of all, the team likes to play a lot of me ball. And kind of like Eric said, I mean, who's really bringing the ball up? They really don't have a set guard who could just make everybody better. And I think, you get a player like Diamond DeShields and you're teaming her up with a person like Mercedes Russell who's used to being the star, and Diamond DeShields who's used to being the star at UNC, and you put them together, I don't think they know how to play well with each other yet. And I think with time they will work on it, but I think I think chemistry is a lot of the reason on why they're not so successful as they should be.
All right, that's good to hear. Also, guys, I wanted to kind of go to a story though that broke yesterday as well from ESPN.com. Rachel Banham from Minnesota, 60-point game and a double overtime victory for the Golden Gophers in their Big Ten matchup a couple days ago. My favorite shot, though, guys, is her a la Will Chamberlain holding the score sheet with the 60 written on top of it. Crystal, doesn't matter if it's 4 quarters or in this case double OT. 60 points is 60 points in any game. I mean, any thoughts about seeing this amazing performance a couple nights ago?
That's impressive. That's hard to do. I mean, a lot of people can't even score 5 points in a basketball game on 60. On any level, that's amazing. And it's kind of cool the way she did it. She was getting it all sorts of ways. Free throws, going to the basket. Regular mid-range shots. So she was getting it done all different sorts of ways. And the best thing about it is her team got the W too. I mean, it would suck to break a record like that and get 60 points and come out with an L. But that's impressive. I mean, that's on any level, that's a hard thing to do. And I don't know her, but I'm proud of her and I'm happy for her.
Eric, now you can probably one up us here on the West Coast because you saw greatness in your own backyard when Atlanta Deladon dropped 45 against Atlanta in a overtime victory against the Dream at Allstate Arena. So I guess what are your thoughts though about seeing not only one impressive performance of a 45-point game by EDD, but seeing this one though as well on the college level?
Boy, I don't even know where to start with that. It's amazing. Rachel Banham, after Amanda Zahui, she left for the WNBA early. It really kind of put Rachel Banham and the Gophers in a tough spot because they would have been at the top of the conference, I believe, or near the top of the conference. But as it is, it's once again Banham's team, and there's nobody to really back her up. She's going to be taking the majority of the shots. Her usage percentage is through the roof right now, and I think that makes it all the more impressive because you would think that teams would be sending constant double teams, constant traps at her, and she shot the ball really, really well during that performance. It's not like she took 60 shots to get 60 points. I think she was like 18 for 31 or something like that. That's really impressive. That's hard to do, especially going into double overtime. We think they'd start double teaming, but nope, that didn't happen. And she was just feasting, from everywhere on the floor. That was nice.
Yeah, no, really impressive. And again, congrats, Rachel Banham. 60-point game for the Minnesota Golden Gophers in a double overtime victory a few days ago. All right, Crystal, back over to you. Keep chugging along. You're doing great.
The funny thing is, I was actually going to mention that, but you beat me to it. Dang, Callan. Dang, Callan, it's all your fault, but it's okay. I'll just go to my next topic, which is so it happens to be Eric's favorite player, Jillian Alene. I don't know if anyone knows, but Jillian Alene just tied the school record with 88 double-doubles. When they played Washington, she had 25 points of 10 of 13 shooting, and for a post player, that efficiency is just amazing. Eric, do you believe, and I know how much you love Jill, do you believe that Jill can be Pac-12 Player of the Year?
Absolutely. Pac-12 has a lot of good players this year. I'm going to be honest with you, and it's going to be by looking at the raw numbers, she's running away with it. But you got to watch out for Kelsey Plum from Washington because she is a beast. People love scoring. People love high volume scoring guards, just like I love Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Plum, equally as adept. They're both lefties. Lefties. There's such something about them. So. Yeah, Kelsey Plum, you got to watch out for her because she's like Banham. She can score inside, she can score outside, she can distribute, she can do just about anything. So I think it's going to come down to those two players. I'd still give the slight edge to Jill just because the double doubles and the night in night out dominance on both ends of the floor. Although I have to say I was a little disappointed when they played against Oregon State because I thought she kind of underachieved against Ruth Hamblin in both of those games. But overall, I don't think that's going to have much of an impact on the Pac-12 Player of the Year award. So I think it's Jill's award to lose right now, I would say.
I can agree, and I'm not just being biased because I do know her. I think I can agree. The Pac-12, as far as just standout players, besides Hamlin, besides Kelsey Plum, there's not really anyone that just excites you like that. And I mean, what Jill's doing is amazing. I mean, she's breaking records left and right when it comes to rebounding and double doubles. I mean, it's her hard work is definitely paying off. And I think the reason why she's had so much problems with Hamlin is because of the size. You know, I've always said this. Jill's pretty small.
Yeah.
You know, she's you get that too, and then just body wise, Jill's a pretty small guard. I mean, I'm sorry, not guard, a small post, and Jill probably will get pushed around a lot, especially will go to the next. I still think she's gonna have a successful career, WNBA wise, and you know the rest of her college career. Callan, what can you say about Jill's impressive just performances just so far? I mean, she's just been dominating the Pac-12 when it comes to rebounds and double doubles.
By the way, that was the first time someone other than me said something nice about a player from San Diego. Thank you very much, Eric, for doing that about Kelsey Plum from La Jolla Country Day. Appreciate that very much. So now you don't have to hear the homer here in San Diego always pump up San Diego basketball players. But, incredible, extraordinary, out of this world is all I can say about Jill again. The double-doubles have just been, and Chris, you brought this up though too, but it's kind of like her drinking a nice little Dr. Pepper probably, of how easy that thing becomes for her, though. But I believe though that yes, undersized maybe, but hey, Crystal Langhorne's a 6-foot post, Chris. We talked about this a couple nights ago. Will she have to probably do something to to kind of get the body in the right frame of to get the body right in shape to play against bigger centers like a Fowles or a Candace Parker or even a Brittany Griner if she's in the Western Conference, or even a Tina Charles out east with New York. Yes, but I think though that she's easily Pac-12. If it better be unanimous that she wins Pac-12 Player of the Year. Yes, Walt Plum has had a good year with Washington. Eileen's been like the one key component keeping Oregon relevant right now in the Pac-12 standings, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that new coaching staff they have with Graves and as well as Nicole Powell is doing them some justice. They're doing really well. I think they're on I believe a 2-game winning streak. They just keep rolling in the victories, and I don't think it's gonna be unanimous though. The way that these people work, I have a feeling they're gonna it's gonna be half Hamlin, half Plum, and then Jill's gonna be somewhere in there. So I don't think you're gonna get your unanimous. Yeah. They never do that. They always like to give us heart attacks when it comes to rating players and voting stuff like that. I do know she has to get Pac-12 Player of the Year. Eric's probably gonna have a Twitter rant a la Shona Williams. She's just gonna be like, she had the most double doubles. She gets the ball in the post game. How are you not gonna give it to her? So if you see Eric going to rant, it's because Jill didn't win, and now we know why. Don't
Putting
go
him on mute if that
rant,
happens,
Eric.
by the way.
No, that's fine. I would mute myself too.
But do you possibly? This is a question for both of you guys. I'm gonna start with Eric first. Do you possibly think that Oregon can get out the Pac-12 tournament, or do you think that they're kind of just going to be stuck in the middle for a while?
If it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to be this year because, as we saw versus Oregon State, that's clearly a better team. I don't think they're going to be able to beat UCLA. Washington they might struggle with. Cal they might struggle with. Cal's got a pretty darn good post player, and Christina Nigwe too. I think Oregon. They're still a couple years away. I think.
And the same question for you, Callan. I think he froze. Oh, okay. I thought he froze.
No, Crystal, I would agree with Eric on that one. They're probably stuck this year. The Pac-12 is so loaded. It's kind of sad to see of how this conference is so loaded. I mean, as Eric said, they'll struggle a little bit with Washington. Cal though I don't really see that way because Cal's kind of struggled as well in the Pac-12 so far this season. UCLA is going to be a tough game as well. Washington, as we also said, Stanford's going to be tough, of course, as well. But guys, I do want to bring up the one conference though I have in front of me as well, and this is, and Crystal, as you said though, you love talking about mid-majors. BYU and the University of San Diego in the West Coast Conference right now still battling it out for the top spot. BYU 12-1 overall, USD 11-2 in the conference. As we said a while back, or I did, that USD was actually in the ESPNW mid-major top 10 for possibly getting into the tournament via at-large bid or even conference outright. So, Crystal, when you see this though from mid-major schools though, what does it say to you though about how the talent and competition is just as good at the mid-major level as it is in the upper echelon of women's basketball?
I love it. Mid-majors are no longer getting overlooked. You actually see a lot more five-star players going to mid-majors a lot now than before. Example, the Gumike sisters. They could have went anywhere, but they chose Pepperdine, which is a mid-major school out here, and I love it. I feel like there's a lot of hidden talent that's in mid-majors, and unfortunately, they probably get overlooked because they either went to a small school or the person that the scouts were there was interested in someone else. But I love it. I mean, I think it's awesome that two mid-majors are battling for that number one spot.
Eric, what do you think? Obviously, BYU has been a really solid athletic program for many years in Provo, and of course USD has been a really solid women's basketball program for the past 10, 11 years under head coach Cindy Fisher. They got a set of sisters playing on the team, which is kind of adds more incentive, I guess, towards it. But I guess, Eric, to kind of reiterate the question, what does it mean to you though to see mid-major universities also getting as much credit as the regular UConns and South Carolinas of the world?
Well, I'm not sure they're getting as much credit as UConn, but maybe just a bit. But yeah, it's really cool. I think it really speaks to the parity of women's basketball. It speaks to the overall talent levels that just continue to rise. The Hood sisters, as you alluded to, are terrific. I think we might see Melina in the WNBA draft. That's just might be a bit of a long shot, but we'll see. Yeah, it's really cool because it makes them feel like they're actually accomplishing something. It feels like, hey, what we're doing isn't going unrecognized. People are actually watching our games. That's really sweet, and that will continue to build the programs too. It's not just going to be a one-year off thing. It's going to be something like people realize that these teams are worth watching too. So, why not?
Yeah, pretty much. All right, Crystal, anything else you want to discuss before we get out here for the night? Please go ahead and do so.
I just want to say thank you for letting me host. Even though at times I sound like a robot, my connection was messed up, and I'm blaming it on Eric. Also, I think I don't know if you guys knew this, but Eric's favorite player is April Sykes, and he would love to have her in Chicago Sky.
What?
So if you're listening, make that happen for Eric so he could be a little bit more happier.
With that, folks, a big thank you to Crystal Thomas for being our guest host tonight, you can kind of say. We'll be back with you folks tomorrow night with the annoying voice and annoying man over here in San Diego back at the host chair, or back in the host chair tomorrow night. But with that, folks, for Crystal and Eric, thanks for stopping by and joining us, and also a big shout-out to Anella, Corey, and Rob for joining us tonight on social media. And, hey, we're always open, folks, to your input on the show. It makes us, it kind of gives more to talk about than just what you hear on the program. We love your thoughts as well, and we love also giving you guys shout-outs too. So please interact with us on social media during the course of our live broadcast. And, of course, we love the input that we get from you folks, and it does make our night a little bit more enjoyable than just, the regular stale questions that you hear us ask every now and then and every time on here. With that, folks, we will quit while we're ahead until tomorrow night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. PST, midnight Eastern. For Eric over in Elmerson, Illinois, for Crystal Thomas up in Los Angeles, Cal McClurg signing off from Studio 171 in San Diego. See you tomorrow night. Bye-bye.